Good afternoon, Winston-Salem. Hello, Wake Forest. It's good to be back here on campus at the finest educational institution in the U.S. It's been 2009 since I was here last. I was inducted into the Wake Forest Hall of Fame, and with Tim Duncan. He was in my class. He might not say it that way, but that's how it was. When I got off the phone from the Wake Forest Hall of Fame committee, I walked into the room and I was so excited. I told my wife, Valerie, who's a two-time All-American at Michigan State University. It's pretty impressive. She told me, she put her fist out and we clinked fists, we blew it up, and she said, "Welcome to the club." And then she proceeded to say, "You know, our kids are going to be going to Michigan State University." And I was like, "Babe, I totally agree with you. Our kids will be going to Michigan State University. That's if they cannot get into Wake Forest." I started off as a pretty good runner. I was very average, actually, but I was a really good kid triathlete. So that was my thing. That's what I loved to do. And basically, when I was back home, looking at colleges and getting some media guides back, it was my spring semester of my senior year, and I come home and I get the mail that day, and my dad's like, "Oh, you got some mail. You got some mail." He's all excited, got this big smile on his face. I'm like, "What's up with my dad with a big smile on his face?" And so I'm like, "Okay, here's the deal." My dad's like, "I'll go check the mail." I get the mail, and Wake Forest thought that Hunter Kemper was a female runner. Not good for the ego. That's how good my times were as a runner. So my dad hands me the phone. It's like, "Listen, son, you got a phone call to make." So I pick up the phone. I call the Wake Forest men's track program and said, "Listen, I'm not a girl, I'm a guy. I assume I won't be getting a scholarship at your university." They're like, "Yes, that's true. I'm like, "Can I walk on?" "You can do that." So I did, and I enjoyed my time here. Ultimately, what drives your heart? Where are you heart-driven? I'm not talking about the heart-beating, blood-pumping physical heart. I'm talking about your figurative heart. The heart that is at the essence of who you are and how you do life. The heart that that longs for you to be living life with a capital L. That's the kind of heart that I'm talking about here today. When I was a boy growing up in Orlando, Florida, I loved to play all kinds of sports. I did it all. I loved it. I was pretty good at swimming, pretty good at running, soccer, baseball, but I really gravitated towards triathlon. It was kind of my thing. So I did my very first triathlon, a 100-meter swim, 3-mile bike, half-mile run. It took me 17 minutes to do, and I was the best out of 3 kids that day. I then went on to the national championships, the big old national championships, 1986. I show up, I rock it out, I win first place, beat 9 other 10-year-olds. I was getting better, right? I kept on winning national titles throughout the time, early on in my teenage years. I get into Sports Illustrated Faces in the Crowd. Have you guys seen that section of Sports Illustrated, got the faces of all the kids? And so I'm in there, and I'm thinking, man, I am the man. I'm walking around like, look at my picture. I'm Sports Illustrated. Larry Bird's on the cover. And I come to find out later on in life, my mom's like, "Listen, you know the whole Sports Illustrated thing? My brother knew someone at Sports Illustrated. That's how you got in." And I was like, "Seriously, Mom, are you serious?" She waited later on in life to tell me that. I then ultimately fell in love with the school of Wake Forest. I found out here that the triathlon was going to be in the Olympic Games in the Sydney Games in 2000. I was so excited. I didn't know what I was going to do. I found out I was loving it. And when I went there, I finished 17th place. It's pretty good, you know. I was top American, but I wasn't really happy with myself. I wasn't really excited. And so after that, I went on, and I realized that in order for me to be heart-driven comes with a lot of things. It comes with the fact that you have to overcome obstacles. You have to basically realize that there might be some unmet expectations. So I wanted to change things. I wanted to get better from those 2000 Olympic Games. I wanted to improve upon my 17th place finish. So I rolled up into 2004 into Athens, and I am the man. I'm walking around, I'm 5th in the world. I'm doing pretty well. Everyone's telling me, like, you're going to win a gold medal. You're going to do pretty good, right? And I'm thinking the same thing, like, I'm going to be all right. I got my whole crew over there. I got my family, my friends, everyone. They're all there. I didn't fly in there. They got there because I'm saying, hey, I'm winning a gold medal today. I got my going for gold hat on. I'm doing it. So everyone's there. They got their H-Dog T-shirts on. They're rocking them out, you know. It's my nickname, and it's all red. They're standing there. And we start off the race. It's a 1,500-meter swim, a mile swim, a 40K bike ride or 25-mile bike ride, and a 10K run. I finish the swim. I get done out of the water, and I'm in 17th place, right back where I was in Sydney. It's not a good place to be, but it's all right. Getting there. I get on. I have a really great transition. I'm in the front bike pack. The bike packs we ride in groups. We ride in packs. I'm going up this steep hill. I'm riding my bike, and as I get to the top of the hill, I drop from the first group to the second group. It's okay. It's not great, but it's okay. I then go around again. We're doing 5 laps on this bike course, really steep hill. We come again after the second lap. I'm in the third bike group. Really not where you want to be. I'm losing time, and I'm in with a bunch of runners, and we're all riding together, and everyone's like yelling at one another, like, come on, no, you pull through. No, you work. This is at the Olympic Games. And so we're there, and we're all going around, and then I get off my bike. I'm in the third bike pack. Again, I'm 2 minutes down in this race, and I'm realizing this is not what I dreamed about. This wasn't going for gold. This is really bad, you know. I'm in kind of in the middle of the pack, 15th place, kind of starting the run. And I start the run, and I'm basically having this mental pity party for myself. I'm thinking, seriously? 4 years, I got my whole crew here. Everyone tells me I'm going to win a gold medal. It's supposed to be the man, you know. And I'm in 15th place right now, 2 minutes down. This is not happening right now. This is what I'm thinking about the first mile of my race. And so I'm running along, and I'm realizing I'm passing countries that I didn't even know was in the sport of triathlon. Like, really? You guys have the sport of triathlon? So I'm running by these guys, and I'm going, and I'm picking it up, and I'm feeling better about myself. And I come towards the last half mile of the race, the last half mile, and I see this guy from Australia. Now I'm about 10th place. We're fighting for 9th. And I see this guy from Australia who's got 2 strawberries on either hip. This guy's gone down twice in his race, which is really bad for me because I've actually had a perfect race. I haven't fallen at all. So I'm like, man, seriously, like I've got to beat this guy. I mean, this guy's had a horrible day, and I'm racing against him to the finish line. So I'm running, and I realize that this is my race. This is what I have to own. I have to be the champion and the winner right here. And so I did. I finished strong. I finished in 9th place. I was happy about that little victory I had, but I was not happy about the 9th place finish. It was full of disappointment and unmet expectations. I get done with the race. I didn't high-five my crew, by the way. Couldn't do it. I get done with my race. My sister, older sister's like, Hunter, here's the deal. You did 17th in Sydney, 9th in Athens. You do the math. You're going to win the 2008 Beijing Olympics. And I'm like, Lee, seriously, that's like, it's really raw right now. It's like an hour after the race. That's like 4 years away. I mean, she meant well, but it's not what I wanted to hear. So I went back to Colorado Springs. I go back to the Springs, U.S. Olympic Training Center. I'm there, and I'm thinking, seriously, I've got to change things. Again, I was top American in Athens. I was #1 American in Sydney. I'm this big fish in the small pond of the U.S. I own the U.S. triathlon world, but I'm not the best in the world, and that's where I want to be. So I changed things up. I gotta do something different. 2005, the #1 thing I focused on was my diet. Let me just take you back to the kind of athlete that I was and now where I am today. I used to be that guy to think, I can eat whatever I want, whenever I want, right? I mean, I burn like 1 million calories a day. I just swim, bike, and run all day long. That's what I do. So I started off my career as the Krispy Kreme searching for the hot now sign, serving those donuts at my wedding. I'm like, maybe I shouldn't be that guy so much and focus on being that guy that currently, right now, is basically the backyard chicken farmer growing organic eggs and drinking beet juice for breakfast. That's where I am now. I made those changes in my diet. I really focused on what I put into my body. I finished number 1 in the world in 2005 and 2006 with those changes. No, sir. Thank you. I then decide, and I did realize that when you're heart-driven, when you're driven by your heart, you can overcome obstacles that you never thought possible. For me, what that meant was in 2011, I was involved in a bad cycling crash in South Carolina. I was going down a hill 35 miles an hour. The crash was not my fault, okay? Broke my elbow really bad. And so I go home, go back to Colorado Springs. I have surgery. This is in the fall of 2011. My biggest race is 2012 Mother's Day weekend in May. And so I'm thinking, it's not a really good place to be right now, right? I mean, I just had surgery on my elbow. Come to the holidays, Christmas time frame, 2011, I realized that I have a staph infection. My elbow has stopped moving. I had to get a PICC line put in my opposite arm. It's not good. So I go there. I had 3 different surgeries to clean out my left elbow, washout surgeries to clean out the staph infection. I'm in the hospital. I get my PICC line put in. I'm on at-home antibiotics, like through intravenous, through the PICC line, for 6 weeks, laying down on my bed, going through that. This is in early January. My biggest race of my career is in May. It's really kind of the lowest of lows for me, ultimately. I'm thinking, I can't go out like this. This is not my story. I got to change this right here. So I woke up every day focusing on what I can control, what I could do differently about today. I only had today. I was going to use it to the best of my abilities, and I did. So I trained really hard, and I focused, and the people weren't calling. I wasn't getting interviews. I wasn't getting phone calls. The spotlight wasn't on me anymore. I'm 36 years old. I'm washed up. This guy's going for his 4th Olympics, and he's overcoming elbow surgery. I don't think so. You know, so I'm going, and I don't read the magazines. I'm not paying attention to, what they're writing about. But I get a phone call from my mom one day, and apparently she didn't get the memo. And the memo was, I'm not reading that stuff. And my mom's like, hey, Hunter, do you see who's on the cover of Triathlete magazine? And I'm like, no, Mom. Like, I'm not reading this stuff. No, okay. Here's the deal. You need to be, okay? Because the hint is, it's not you. I'm like, okay, Mom, seriously, I don't really care. I got some training to do. She's like, no, here's the deal. I'm going to, print it off. I'm going to send it to you. And you're going to take this, you're going to cut it out, and you're going to put it in your running shorts. And it's going to motivate you every day until the Olympic trials. And I'm like, Mom, seriously, she was fired up. This woman was fired up. She got me fired up. So I took that picture. I'm, these 2 guys that are standing there, like, looking all like, here we are with the flag, and, we're the next greatest American hope. I'm like, okay, here we go. So I roll up there to San Diego, California, Mother's Day weekend, and I realize today's my day. I'm not going to pay attention to what everybody else is doing, what they're thinking about, what the people wrote about, the fact that they're getting media coverage and the camera's on them. I'm going to do my thing. And I showed up and I trained really hard. I finished 5th in that race. I was top American, and I went back to my 4th Olympic Games. And I was able to overcome that obstacle because I felt like I was heart-driven. I had a passion for the sport of triathlon that it's different. It's different when it comes from your heart. And so for me, ultimately, that's what it's about. Since London, I've had to realize and kind of change things and feel like starting to get that question now, like, what's next? Everyone's always asking, hey, what's next? 38 years old, like, what are you going to do now? I'm like, what am I going to do now? Like, I'm a professional triathlete. Like, I got 38, I'm going for Rio. That's what's next, that's what's now. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to be a 5-time Olympian. That's what I'm going to do. How about that? I'm not going to talk to those doubters out there. So to me, that's what I was focusing on. That's what I wanted to do. But I also want to think about what's next for me after triathlon. I'm still that boy that loves that going for gold hat, that wants to be that guy that wants to win gold in Rio. That's who I am, and that's what I'm going to do in 2016. But I also need to realize I need to find a passion for what my life looks like after triathlon. And I've been searching for that. And so for me, that passion comes in 2 things. I'm heart-driven in 2 ways. I love getting youth, the kids in this country, healthy and active through the sport of triathlon. I love it. I want to get kids up and moving and get them going. I also love helping those in need, kids that need a helping hand. I have a passion for those kids. So I didn't really realize how I was going to actually find that passion and combine those two passions until I heard the story of Mitch Chapokis. July 10th, 2014, I learned about Mitch Chapokis. Mitch was a boy in Minneapolis. In 2002, he was diagnosed with bone cancer. It was that Christmas time frame when he found out that he was going through chemo treatment at the University of Children's Hospital up in Minnesota. He's up there, he's going through his chemo, and he overhears in the room next to him that the parents are talking, and they realize, you know what, we can't do Christmas this year, we can't do it. And the boy is like, I don't understand. And the reason they couldn't do it, because obviously all of what they were dealing with, because that kid had just been recently diagnosed with some form of cancer. They were on the pediatric oncology floor on the 9th floor. So it really bothered Mitch. And Mitch turned to his dad and said, Dad, how much money do I have in the bank? And his dad said, you know what, Mitch, you got money. You're okay. We live here in the area. We're taken care of. He had games and video games and all kinds of stuff all in his room. He was loved. He's like, no, Dad, how much money do I have in my bank account? And so ultimately his dad said, you got about $6,000 that people have given to you, friends and family. And so he said, okay, I'm going to go get my money. So he went down to the bank, he got his money, pulled it all out, and he came back to the hospital in between chemo treatments. He takes the money, puts it all in envelopes, puts all the $100 bills in envelopes, divides them up, goes around the pediatric oncology floor, gets wheeled around. He can't walk anymore. It's really aggressive bone cancer. His dad pushes him around. And he slides the dollar bills underneath, and the envelopes underneath doors, puts them on the beds, puts them on nightstands when people aren't there. Just had I love you, Mitch on it. Gets done, comes around, his dad wheels him around, doesn't want to be found out. And he turns to his dad and gets into the elevator on the University of Children's Minnesota Hospital on the pediatric oncology floor and says, Dad, that was the greatest time I had. I loved it. It was the best day of my life. I want to do that again next year. I want to do it again next year. And his dad's like, had to tell him right there in the elevator, you know, son, I don't know if there's going to be a next year for you. He had a really aggressive form of bone cancer. And he said, okay, you promise me then. You promise me that you will continue serving these kids and helping these kids when I'm gone. He's like, okay, that's a big promise, Mitch, but I can do it. He's like, no, Dad, you pinky swear promise me today that you will continue to do and serve these kids when I'm gone. And he did. He pinky swore a promise with his dad that day in the Children's Hospital. Mitch Chapokis died April 11, 2003, 4 months later after he had that conversation with his dad. His dad carried it on. That same year, 2003, in the late summer, he put on the Pinky Swear Kids Triathlon. Ages 6 to 18 kids. 350 kids showed up, all raising money for kids with cancer and their families in honor of Mitch. They raised those kids last year, it's in their 12th year in Minneapolis, those kids racing for other kids racing for kids who can't race for themselves. 1,800 kids last year in Minneapolis raised $650,000 for kids with cancer. So here's the takeaway. I found my passion now. The Pinky Swear Foundation is going national. They're going out. They want to be in as many states as they possibly can be in. They have 12 races next year. It's the largest kids triathlon series in the country. And it's all about kids helping kids with cancer and their families. It's all supporting non-medical needs. It's an amazing cause. They pay rent payments and mortgage payments and utility bills and gas bills for families that are going through a difficult time after they've been recently diagnosed. It's an amazing thing to see kids race for kids and appreciate at that age that there's more to life and that they're going to do fundraisers for these kids. It's a non-timed event. It's non-competitive. It's not what it's about. Every kid gets a finisher's medal. It's a really unique experience. So for me, I'm the spokesperson for Pinky Swear Foundation. I'm the national spokesperson. I found my passion again. I'm still that boy that wants to win gold in Rio, but I'm also the man that wants to help others and give back through the sport of triathlon. The triathlon is just a vehicle to get kids healthy and active. The foundation is doing something far, far greater. So my challenge here to you guys today And what I want you guys to is what are your gifts and talents? What are you guys out there living for? Where's your heart? What are you heart-driven in? My challenge is this. Put your hands up. Pinkies up. Cross them across your heart. And make a decision today to live life differently, to live life. Make a pinky swear promise today before you leave this chapel that you'll live your life heart-driven and with a purpose. Thank you.